All right, confession time. I have been known to ramble a bit on this channel, and because of that, some of you guys out there will call me out. And one of the comments I get quite often is, get to the point. Now, in my defense, I just want to say if you're kind of going into one of my videos with that type of attitude, you might actually be missing the point entirely. Greetings, people of the internet. I'm Scott with Serkworks Art Labs. Welcome, mad creators, to the underground laboratory where we create robots, aliens, zombies, and other imminent threats to humanity. Right now, we're trying to step back a little bit from the threats to humanity because this is 2020 as I'm recording this, and we are in the middle of that global pandemic that just seems to keep persisting. Hopefully if you're watching this in the future, you're all well and good, and we can look past that. But right now, that's where we are. So instead of designing things that could spell the end of humanity, I think it's good to just take a step back and maybe work on some positive things. Only temporarily. Once things get back to normal, we will get back to trying to take over the world. But for now, we're doing some blueprint sketches, and I thought, what is a place where we can be safe from the virus that's going around? And well, I guess outer space. I mean, SpaceX sent some astronauts up there and they came back, and they're not dealing with that up there. But another place is underwater. So I thought I would design sort of a submersible robot that could go underwater, and at least for a couple of people that could fit in the cockpit of this submersible, maybe they'd be safe. Now, you may be asking yourself, what is he on about? He's talking about astronauts and underwater. Does this have anything to do with the topic at all? And honestly, no, it doesn't. I just like to have a little fun in this channel. I try to show a little bit of my personality, and maybe that's an acquired taste, and maybe that's not what you're here for, but that's the kind of way I do things here. And because I am rambling, I'm kind of doing that on purpose just to prove a point that yes, I like to talk about topics, and I think I give you a lot of great information on those topics, but in some ways this is also for entertainment. I don't just want to come out here and just read, you know, basic boring stuff. I'd like to hopefully entertain you, whether that's with the drawings, maybe add a little bit of personality to it, but I do get to the point eventually, and that's what I'm going to talk about today. Now, some of the stuff that I'm talking about, what I talked about just now, maybe not so important, but a lot of the other stuff that you may not think is as important actually is. So I want you to pay attention. If you don't mind, just kind of keep an open mind. And I'm going to get to drawing this robot submarine, and we're going to talk about getting to the point. All right, let's start off with this drawing. So this is going to be a submersible robot, but I want to give it some characteristics of like an octopus, where it's got 8 sort of mechanical tentacles that can perform different functions. And because I like the idea of that, this sort of machine that can do all kinds of different things at once. It kind of reminds me when I was a kid. Again, these are tangents, and this goes against what I'm talking about, or maybe it helps to prove a point. But my mom, you know, you'd be like, Mom, you want your mom to help you with something? Yeah, Mom, and my mom would always be like, do I look like an octopus? I can't do 8 things at once. And so the idea of being able to do all these different things, and sometimes when you tune into one of my videos, I may talk about a bunch of different things or what seems like different things, but typically I do try to stay on topic. And whether it's exactly what you came looking for, it usually has something to do with the overall idea of what the point that I'm trying to get across. So sometimes you just gotta bear with me. So a while back, I did a video on the 3 P's that kind of every artist need to make them a better artist. And those, or it could be almost anything. It doesn't have to be necessarily an artist, but most of my audience are artists. I'm an artist. So anyway, those 3 P's are patience, practice, and persistence. So right now I want to focus just on one of those, and that is the patience part. We live in this amazing time right now where all the information that we need is basically at our fingertips. Anything that we need to learn how to do, we can quickly search out and instantly get an answer to our questions, relatively instantly. But it usually doesn't take too long to learn how to do the things we want to learn how to do. And sometimes people come to my channel, they look at a title on a video, and they want to know pretty much exactly what's on that title, and that's it. And I can understand that. I've gone to videos on how to, you know, if I need to figure out how to fix, you know, garbage disposal or something, I'll quickly tune in. And I'm not necessarily looking for personality or anything with those videos. I'm just looking to learn how to fix my garbage disposal. So just straight facts, and that's it. Real quick digestible videos that you can get like in 3 minutes. That's not exactly what I do here. So if you just look at the runtime of the video, hopefully you can get that point, because if I'm looking, like I said, how to fix a garbage disposal, I'm not going to try to, if there's a 10-minute video and a 20-minute video, I'm probably going to go to the 10. If there's a 5-minute video, I'm probably going to go to that. And I understand maybe when I put a title on my video that is of interest to somebody, maybe that's all they want, but I'm trying to give you a little more. So I put out a video fairly recently. I think if you go back a few videos back, you'll find it, but it was, what do comic artists make, or what do comic creators make, whether you're a writer, artist, or whatever you do in comics, and then / comic page rates. And you know, I purposely put that title out there because I thought that it would attract some attention, but I wanted to, you know, I wanted to bring people in, but there was more that I wanted to talk about on that subject. But I got some comments saying that I was rambling, or it took me too long to get to the point. And like I said in the beginning, I'm purposely aware that I tend to ramble a bit, and because of that, I try to, you know, I do try to take these criticisms to heart, and I try to improve on that, but still remain myself and do what I want with the channel. So I've done a lot, you know, more with editing. I spend a lot more time editing, you know, some of these awkward pauses or whatever it is out of these videos to keep them moving smoother. Whether if it's just a video with me talking, I try to interject some B-roll and things to make it a little more interesting. So I hear what you're talking about, and I'm trying to cut out some of that stuff. But in my defense on this particular video, I went back and watched it, and even though it did take me, you know, one of the criticisms was it took me a third of the way through the video to actually get to talking about the page rates. And that was true. I mean, it did take a while to get to that, and I understand that the title that I put out there was comic page rates, or what comic artists make. But my goal for that video was not just to read off comic book page rates. If that's all you wanted, you could have easily Googled that and found that information real quick, the same place that I found it. Why would I do a video on that when it's just, it's already out there? You can find that stuff relatively simple. It didn't take me any time to Google that information and find it. My goal was to talk about that and talk about why these page rates aren't all that great, and why, based on my 20+ years of experience, why there's other areas in other fields of art that pay quite a bit more, and just bring up a conversation on why that is. Why are comic artists, comic writers, comic whatever aspect you're doing, whether it's lettering, penciling, plotting, coloring, anything, why are those rates so low? Because a lot of people, I think they just go to that video, they just want to know, they don't care that they're being that they're being ripped off or anything, or that these are not good rates. They just want to know what they are, so they, oh, I can work for Marvel or DC Comics, and that's what I'm going to be able to make, and I guess that's what it is, so that's what I'm going to accept, and great, if I can get in there, I'll work for peanuts. Or just a rate that is not equivalent to the amount of, you know, talent or skill or whatever that you have. So, you know, I wanted to talk about all this stuff, and that was my intention. Of course, you can't put all that, it's kind of hard to put all that into a thumbnail. And for better or worse, when you're putting a video out there, you have to grab people's attention, and you're hoping that maybe if I can grab people that are interested in, oh, what do comic artists, what do they make? And then if you can bring them in, and then you can talk about the kind of the darker aspects, or just the stuff that people might not want to hear, and maybe give people a difference of opinion, or at least educate them so they know what they're getting into, so they know that this probably isn't right, and then you can make your own decision whether you want to pursue that or not. But that's what that video was all about. I couldn't put all that into a thumbnail. It's just too hard. Sometimes I have to be a little clickbaity, and it's not something I like doing, but if it helps to get more people in to hear a message that I have, then I'm willing to do that. And it's not clickbaity in the sense that if you come to the video, you're not going to get what I promised. You're just going to get a little more. And it might take a little bit, because if I just gave you that stuff up front and then talked about it, some people will tune out. And I think a lot of people, whether they want to realize it or not, This is information that they probably should be aware of. And unfortunately, I think when people go into a video, they have certain expectations and they're not really open to hearing anything about that. They kind of want what they want and then they want to leave and move on to the next thing. I guess that's fine, but that's not, that definitely was not my goal with this particular video. And sometimes it's the things that you may not have come to the video for that you may learn that is the most valuable. So just a little bit of analogy. So a while back I went parachuting, all right? So I had never gone parachuting before. I know literally nothing about parachuting other than, oh man, this would be cool to jump out of a plane with a parachute and everything. So I went to, I went to the parachuting school and everything, and they get you in this before you can jump out of a plane, even if it's in tandem with an instructor and everything, you need to go through all the safety lessons, and there's a whole course that you have to do before they're gonna allow you to jump out of that plane. So you sit in this class and they go through all the different safety measures, all the different things that can happen, what it's going to be like when you're up there, when you're jumping out of the plane, everything that you need to know basically to parachute. And it takes a while. It takes like an hour and a half, 2 hours maybe. I forgot exactly how long it was, but it was a long time with a lot of very important information that you need to know before you can go through the fun part of jumping out of the plane and descending down to earth. So like I said, that was about, let's say an hour long, up to 2 hours or whatever, versus the actual jump, which might last about 15, 20 minutes at the most. But you don't want to skip that. That other part is so important. You can't have one without the other. So even though you might not want to sit in a classroom and learn about all these safety things, it's imperative that you do. Now, what I'm talking about here on the channel is not life or death stuff, all right? I understand that. But it does sort of prove a point that a lot of this stuff is super important. And I did get a lot of comments, not exactly coming right out and saying this, but in so many words saying, I came to this video to learn what comic book creators are making, what the page rates are, and I don't really care about your opinion. Now, I think a lot of people, they may have come to the video for that and then learned this other stuff and found value in that. But if you had watched the whole video and not picked up on that or not cared about that, I mean, I guess that's fine, but that, again, that wasn't my intention, and that's not what I'm trying to do here on this channel, because that information you can find elsewhere, and you don't need any commentary to go along with it. But I put a lot of time into these videos, and really, honestly, it doesn't cost you a thing to watch these videos. So if you don't exactly get what you came for, I mean, you're not out any money. I mean, on the flip side, I mean, I invest a lot of time and a lot of my own money, and I don't really make anything on YouTube, contrary to what some people might think. But it is something I enjoy doing it, and I want to give back, because I didn't have this when I was coming up as an artist. I didn't have YouTube. I didn't have all this information at my fingertips. So, I mean, it just seems a little entitled that, here people are taking their time putting this stuff out there, and to complain about it because it's not exactly what you want, I don't know. But to me, I would feel fortunate that you're living in the time where you have all this stuff, and maybe not all of it applies to you. Maybe you end up learning something that you didn't expect to learn, and maybe that's a good thing, and that's sort of my goal. It's like that Rolling Stones song says, you don't always get what you want, but sometimes you get what you need. It's like if you guys have seen The Karate Kid. So if you haven't seen it, here's sort of the gist. Daniel LaRusso wants to learn how to, do karate so that he can defend himself against some bullies. He meets this guy who's this karate master, Mr. Miyagi, and Mr. Miyagi takes him under his wing and says that he's going to teach him how to do karate. When he first goes to his house to learn how to do karate, Mr. Miyagi is just having him do all these chores, like painting the fence and waxing his floors and the cars and all this kind of stuff. And Daniel goes, day after day, he's doing all this stuff, and he's like, what are you doing? I mean, I came here to learn karate, you're having me do all these chores. And then Mr. Miyagi says, let me show you. And then he's like, wax on, wax off, wax the floor, paint the fence. And everything that he's talking about, everything that he's teaching him with all these chores are basically the moves that he needs the basics for learning karate. Daniel's son didn't even realize that he was being taught. So to me, that's kind of the same thing. You may not know, you may not expect to go into a situation learning something, but if you do learn something, if you come out with that, I mean, that's sort of what I'm trying to do. And you can look at, you can say Mr. Miyagi was tricking Daniel into doing these chores while, you know, getting the best out of both worlds, having to do all this stuff while teaching karate. And maybe he was, maybe that's a good thing. But, you know, whether I put something that may seem a little clickbaity in to draw in your attention, in hopes that you might learn something else, I don't feel too guilty about that, to be perfectly honest. Now, I enjoy doing these videos. I don't want to give the wrong impression. I do enjoy doing these videos. I like what I'm doing here. I like, you know, putting on that green lab coat, going down into the underground lair, doing all that stuff, doing these drawings, talking about this stuff. I really do enjoy. That's kind of why I do what I do. And when I got the, you know, I got a couple comments, and the first one was kind of like, they preface it with like, you know, if you don't want to take my advice, please don't. I'm just putting that out there. And those are the type of comments I like. The other one was just kind of straight out saying you're rambling, you didn't get to the point, that type of thing. And because of that, I'm like, and I don't get a whole lot of negative comments because I don't put out a lot of negativity. But when I do, it's kind of like, I don't think they're seeing the point or whatever. Because of that, my immediate thing was just to be like, okay, well, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna take that information, the comic book page rates, I'm gonna put out another video, just a quick short video, no underground lair, no green lab coat, just stand in front of like a cinder block wall or something and just basically in a monotone voice kind of put that information out there real quick. And put that out there just to kind of show the difference. The reason why I didn't do that is because after I commented with that commenter, she commented back and says, look, you know, I do like what you're doing. I do appreciate, you know, the production value you put into this, and I love the underground lair. That was really my only criticism. So I didn't do that because of that. But anyway, I think if she would have prefaced it first, said that before the comment, that might have helped. But you know, it's the internet. That's kind of what you come to expect. But anyway, so I didn't put out that video. And the other reason why I didn't put out that video because I was afraid it would get way more views, and that would have been a real hit to my ego if I'm putting all this time in it and then just me sitting in front of a block wall giving out this information. You know, if the video went viral and everything, I don't know what I would do because I don't want to do content like that. That's just not what I do here. Now, the other thing that a lot of people will suggest is to put a timestamp on your video. Like, at this point, I actually go into the comic book page rates at such and such time. I don't really like those so much, the timestamps, and sometimes people just drop them in there. I did a video on how to draw comics the Marvel way, and it was, is this a great book for learning comics, or is it just Marvel propaganda? And that was the title of the video. Now, the video, the thumbnail and everything, it just showed the cover of the book. Nowhere in there did it even say that I was going to flip through the book and talk about the book as I was flipping through it. But I got a comment, somebody just put a timestamp in there saying, at this point, that's when he actually gets into actually opens the book. He doesn't even open the book until that point, which was not the purpose of that video. It wasn't a flip through. It didn't say in the title, this is a flip through a review of, it wasn't that type of review. It started off with me just talking about the book, and it was all relevant information. There wasn't anything really that I was talking about that wasn't relative to what I had actually put on the topic, but still somebody put in that timestamp, and I just deleted that comment because to me, when you do that, it's kind of like, basically it's what you're saying. So if you put a timestamp, if somebody puts a timestamp on the video that I put out is about the comic page rate, say at this point, this is when he starts talking about it. Basically, like I said, that wasn't my goal, and you're missing everything up until that point. You're missing the commentary, you're missing the setup, you're missing why those rates aren't great, and why maybe you should rethink the way you do comic books if you want to be a professional comic book artist, because it gives some alternative ways to go about it. There's a lot of other information in there, and if you put that in there, you're just skipping it. And it's basically saying to the person, it's basically saying, you know, we don't care about anything you actually have to say, or we don't care about your opinion. All we care about is this information. And to that I say, if that's what you want, there is a link there's no timestamp, but in the video there is a link to those comment page rates where you can just click on that link, go to that website, and you can read all that stuff, and you don't have to listen to me talk about it or anything that you don't want to hear. So, but yeah, I'm just not huge on the timestamp thing. I know there are certain situations where it might make sense to do a timestamp, but that's something that, to me, it just kind of irks me a little bit. Maybe it's a pet peeve, maybe it's not. I know a lot of people, maybe you like those timestamps, I don't know. So anyway, those are some thoughts on why I do the videos I do and the format that I do, and hopefully you guys enjoy it. Hopefully you guys get something out of it, and maybe you don't, and that's fine. I mean, everyone's looking for something different, and you can't please everyone. There's no way I could make everyone happy doing a YouTube channel. Case in point, so as many comments as I get about me rambling or whatever, like when I did my Making Comics 101 series, I got just as many comments saying, you're going too fast, you got to slow down. I mean, in that video I was purposely trying to put a lot of information out there in a quick, you know, kind of rapid fire format, and people didn't like that either. So you just can't please everyone, so don't try. So anyway, that's the reason why I do the content that I do, and that I just want you to be aware that sometimes there may be important lessons that you might miss if you're not open-minded enough to want to learn about it. All right, so here is our Octomech robot underwater submersible blueprint drawing. Yeah, I had fun with this, and kind of a way to get away from all the craziness that's going on right now in the world. But the other thing that I do to try to get away from that is just to talk about something other than what's going on, and kind of talk about art, talk about creativity, talk about how you guys can become better artists, more productive artists, professional artists, whatever the goal is. That's what I try to do on this channel. And although sometimes I may ramble, there is usually a point within there, hopefully more than one point. And I would hope that you guys just open your mind and pay attention, because, you know, I've been doing this for a while, so I picked up a few things here and there, and hopefully I can impart those to you guys that maybe either getting started, or maybe if you've been doing this for a while, maybe a difference of opinion, or maybe a refresher course, or whatever the case is. But anyway, that's kind of what this channel is all about, so hopefully you dig it, hopefully you'll be back, and hopefully you like what I'm doing. If you do have any criticisms, constructive criticisms, not just hateful stuff, but do leave those in the comment sections. Anything you think I could be doing better, anything that you think that I'm doing great, that you want to see more of, let me know. And that's going to do it for today. I will see you guys later. That is all. Hey, thanks for watching. If you like what you saw and you want to see more, hit that subscribe button. Also, you can follow me at Serkworks on social media, and now you can support the work that I do on Patreon. If you like making comics, then go to Serkworks.com and pick up the Comic Maker Starter Kit. It's packed full of fonts, brushes, templates, and more, and best of all, it's totally free.